Welcome to Delingpole, a Breitbart.com podcast. Here is the podcast host, James Delingpole.
Welcome to the Delingpole podcast with me, James Delingpole, and my very, very special and interesting guest that I found on Twitter, just wandering around lonely. And I sort of, a bit like when you see a sad old puppy with how can it be an old puppy? A sad puppy with maybe a half torn off ear. I saw this creature and I thought he'd be really good for a podcast. And his name.
You were wrong.
Don't disappoint. Don't prejudge the podcast, Gareth. My special guest, his name is Gareth Soye, and Gareth is going to take me on a tour of Irish politics because Gareth is Irish himself. He lives in Dublin, and if you have trouble understanding him, that's because he doesn't speak as we do. He has a sort of Northern Irish accent.
Yes, I'm from the British part of the island. There's a slight history there. I don't know if some of your listeners may be familiar with it. So I speak proper Queen's type English. But
and you are from the Catholic side, aren't you? So were you trying to blow us up?
I wasn't trying. We succeeded many times. But yes, we were into shoplifting. We used to lift them 6 feet off the ground.
This is very. We've got off to a very tasteless start. We're here to talk about serious things, and here you are, just making light of the troubles. So, but seriously, Gareth, you were brought up in a Catholic family in where?
In County Down, so about 15 miles south of Belfast,
right,
near a little village called Hillsborough, which is where the Queen stays when she comes over, and all the heads of state and everyone else stays in Hillsborough Castle. Which isn't actually a castle, but there is a castle in Hillsborough which is not called Hillsborough Castle because this being Ireland, stuff just works that way.
And so you've now moved south of the border.
South of the border to Dublin, 20 years next year. Haven't managed to find a better accent yet.
No, because you could have developed the sort of the more lilting Southern Irish accent, couldn't you, had you wanted by now?
I'm very bad at accents. Every time I try to do an accent, it just turns into an Indian one for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, you and my wife both. She's doing some work at the moment for a German company, a German publishing company, and she read out the email that these Germans had sent her. Yes, we are very happy with the work you have done on our project. I say, these Germans, do they?
Are they from Bombay? Or yeah. Sorry, we can't say Bombay anymore. We're like,
I can talk. I'm just the same. So, I have not been to Dublin. I don't think, for about 25 years, and I'd be exaggerating if I said that last time I was here, every house had a horse in the patch of grass in front of it. But it was definitely much more Irish and sleepy and less kind of Euro-modern than it is now. What's happened?
Well, I haven't brought you to the proper areas yet. Obviously, Old George in Dublin is still there somewhere. But we have to pay homage to our European overlords and the people we owe all the money to.
Yeah.
So we have to sort of do what they say.
I raised this point. This morning, I had to go on. Well, you were there, so I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I went on the Irish radio station RTE.
Yes.
And talked to, who was the guy?
Sean O'Rourke.
Sean O'Rourke.
Who's our top, either first or second radio show in the country in the mornings. So you were on with Sean and you asked him a question, which I think he was slightly shocked by.
He was taken aback by, but it seems to me the obvious question, which is that, okay, Ireland, you're so proud of what happened in 1916 and memorialised by Yeats and others, and the sacrifice that your freedom fighters made to free themselves from the yoke of the hated British. So how is it that you are so keen on being ruled by this anti-democratic, politically correct, communitarian, corrupt? I mean, it's not like Ireland doesn't have enough corruption of its own, but I mean, why do you want to be run by even more corrupt people across the water when you've escaped all that.
Yeah, well, they're not more corrupt. Obviously, we are there to teach them how to be properly corrupt.
Sorry, I insulted your people.
You insulted the Irish people by suggesting anyone was more corrupt than we are.
Sorry. Apologies to Irish listeners.
Yeah, so I have to be sort of careful what I say here and don't insult our glorious overlords, because they might kick me out of my house or something. And
they own your house, don't they?
They own pretty much everything, really. At this stage, we owe them several euros, which are worth about £3 now or something at this stage, isn't it? Saying your pound keeps going up in value, even though it was meant to be worthless. And
it's interesting hearing it from your point of view, because we get so much talking down of England, of Britain in the UK by bitter Ramonas. Yeah. But here you are in the Eurozone, and you're saying you're feeling just as
I can bring you to people who will talk down Britain as much as you want. Around here. Sure. There's several of them. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm one of the very, very few in Ireland who isn't a big fan of the EU. Yeah. I mean, they did build us lots of roads and stuff like that, which everyone keeps talking about.
Beautiful roads. Really smooth roads.
We now have roads, which we didn't have before, obviously. Before the EU, we used to just walk everywhere and stuff and didn't have roads or cars or anything, spectacular like that. But we have roads now.
They showered you with gifts, didn't they?
They showered us with something.
With trinkets. You were a bit like natives, like South Sea Islanders. And along comes Captain Cook, aka the European Union, and he gives you these baubles. And all the natives get very excited. Roads, we've never seen a road before. But in return, he's exacting a terrible price, isn't he? Which he wants all your...
yes. But at the end of the day, they're not the Brits, so no one cares.
That's it, isn't it?
That's pretty much it.
That was exactly what Sean O'Rourke said this morning. I mean, he actually admitted it.
Yes.
That they didn't mind being under the European yoke because...
it got away from the Brits, yes. Even though, you're our next door neighbours, our cousins, we speak the same language, we have the biggest trade with each other. Our trade with the UK is bigger than anyone else. Your trade with Ireland is bigger than anyone else. So, we're very close, but we are sort of those brothers, that don't get on.
It's weird, isn't it? Because there's so much about... I always have a good time in Ireland, and I'm not going to use the C word. Yes. Because it's just so tiresome. It's like... was it a marketing thing? Was it like sort of Mothering Sunday? Was it Christmas? Was it... Who invented the crake? Crack.
The crack, I have no idea where the crack came from.
Oh, I've mentioned it, sorry.
We have crack everywhere, apparently.
You have a real crack problem.
We do have a huge crack problem, but everyone seems cool with it for some reason.
But I like being with Irish people. You're easygoing, you're fun, you've got a good sense of humour. You've got some nice countryside, those parts that you haven't destroyed by wind farms. You've got some cracking literature. You've got Yeats. You've got Wilde. You've got the basis for an entire 2000 AD series. All those legends about Cuchulainn and Cuchulainn and all that. Was he a cuck?
Brian Boru.
What else? Brian Boru. You've got all that stuff. You've got monks. You've got loads and loads of history and great stuff. But your politics are shite, aren't they? I mean, what a bunch of pinko lefty tossers you've got running your...
Yes, we do. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of called centrist, but our politics. We have these group of politicians who are just... they are whatever they need to be at that particular time to get into power. And then we have the mad leftists, the utterly insane communist lunatics who are running around making fools of themselves.
Now, there's an interesting point here. We're going to talk about this later on in the podcast. But you would think, listening to Gareth, that he was just a kind of typical upper class. No, you wouldn't think that.
No, you wouldn't. No.
But you would think that he was a kind of blimpish conservative stroke libertarian character from birth. And let me tell you, my dear special friend listener, he is nothing of the kind. He is a convert to the cause. But we're going to come on to that later. But tell me a bit about Tell me a bit about Irish politics, because despite what I said just then, I gave the impression I knew what I was talking about. I really don't have a clue. I just think Ireland, what is it?
Well, okay, well, not having a clue is actually the best possible way to come at Irish politics, because no one has a clue, really. There's two main parties. You have Labour and Conservatives. We have Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. They're both very centrist parties. I used to have a politics lecturer who said that he had people come from all over the world to study Fianna Fáil because their policies are really whatever they need to have their policies as. They will move from left to right on a whim as long as it gets them in power.
Well, they sound a bit like our Conservatives.
So pretty much. But your Conservatives here are the Nazi party. You know, you don't think David Cameron is very right-wing. I mean,
I think David Cameron is pretty much a communist.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, in Ireland, David Cameron is Hitler,
right?
Really. So so it's none of it really makes any sense. So coming from it without having a clue is really, you could actually probably be Taoiseach tomorrow. Now, the less of a clue you have, the more likely you are to be leading the place.
I would like to be a Taoiseach.
Yes,
what a name, eh?
It's a funny
James Delingpole, Taoiseach.
Yes, yes, and I could be your Taoiseach. That's the deputy. So
is that like my bootlick?
That's your sort of
my punkawalla.
Yes, James has come at a time when there's a slight political upheaval at the minute. So the Taoiseach might, by the time this goes out, we might have another election. Which is great. We should stand. We should stand for election.
You're quite a sort of multicultural, tolerant place, aren't you? So
yeah.
They wouldn't mind a Brit, I imagine.
No,
they run their country. There's no bad blood there.
No history at all. So I mean, and I'm sort of half Brit because I'm from the north, so they tell me to piss off home regularly. But yeah, we should stand Delingpole and Soye for
Delingpole and Soye. But what do we have our work cut out? Because what are the problems facing Ireland at the moment? What's it like?
The Brits, it's our number one problem. It always is, always has been, always will be. That's what are our problems? Well, we still owe several 100 billion or something to the EU.
Has your economy? Because I remember going on a few years back. I suppose at the peak of the Celtic Tiger boom, I was on this. I went to Djibouti actually on a sailing trip round the Gulf of Djibouti.
Very middle class,
as you do. And there was an Irish bloke on that, and he was always on the phone to his stockbroker, and everyone in his company was everyone. Yeah, even the tea lady, if he had such a thing in his company, was engaging, was trading stocks.
Was buying houses probably. Everyone buying houses. Yes.
Has Ireland recovered from when that bubble burst?
No. You see, the thing is, everyone bought houses, and then the bubble burst. And then we had people on the radio. I remember one lady on the radio who bought an apartment for something like 400,000 euros at the time or something. So the bubble burst and it was worth 150. And she was on saying, oh, something needs to be done. I've lost 350,000. We're going, yeah, so what? I don't care. And she, well, something has to be done. The government needs to do something. And so we borrowed all the money from the EU, and no one really lost their houses. Now, you will have certain people tell you here that everyone has lost their house and everyone is homeless, but that's not true. But we all sort of went into negative equity, and our place was worth nothing, and we've stayed there. And
you're in negative equity, aren't you?
Just about coming out of it now. Just about.
So when did you buy?
So my wife bought because she's the boss and she has...
Everyone's wife is the boss. I don't know any exceptions to that rule.
She does all the work and stuff. And but 2006, so the bust was 2008. So she bought pretty much at the height for... and our place now is worth about 100,000 less than what it was bought for.
So there must be lots of Dubliners in your position, or lots of Irish people in your position.
Yeah, there's lots. So we are sitting here in our... James is in my house, by the way. I've invited him round. He doesn't know who's going to arrive in a few minutes.
I've been admiring your library, by the way.
Terrible. Can
I just tell my dear friend listener what's in the library? Okay, so starting from the top, we've got Stephen Leather Takedown. We've got David Baldacci, is it
Baldacci or
Baldacci,
I don't
No
really
Man's
know.
Land. Ben Elton,
That
Meltdown.
was left there. That's not mine.
That's quite yes.
Yeah, Ben
Colin
Elton.
Forbes, Rhinoceros, Rage by Simon Conway. Lots and lots of Dean Koontz. Quite a lot of Dan Brown. Is he? I haven't heard of him, but is he a quality writer?
No, apparently not. Apparently, I'm being told that I'm just awful for reading. Even if you read Dan Brown at all, it means you're just pure scum or something.
Can I say that, given you don't know how to pronounce his surname, David Baldacci.
There's a lot of his books there. Yeah.
He's quite prolific, isn't he?
They're pretty fun, you know. I read fun books, you know, fun books.
Lee Child, you've got.
Yeah,
anyway,
all the Jack.
After that parenthesis where we've taken time off
we
to
were talking
insult
about.
your
Insult my home, yes, that I've
Yes,
so
okay,
kindly
negative
invited you into.
negative equity.
So we're here in our 2-bedroom apartment, which is nice and lovely and all the rest, but we can't buy a house, even though we will both have good jobs. Well, I will have in January, hopefully. We have good jobs, but we can't buy a house because the law was changed to make everyone have to have 20% deposit of a new house. So we have no equity, and to buy a house around here is maybe about 600,000 euros. So you need 120,000.
There must have been a few people in Ireland who got very, very rich and got out at the right time.
There would have been a lot of people who got very, very rich. There was a lot of people who lost money, but then didn't lose money because the taxpayer bailed everyone out. But there was, like I know a guy whose father sold a few fields out in West Dublin for 15 million just before the bust. So someone had 15 million quid's worth of fields that they then couldn't build any houses or anything on because everything went kaput. So yes, he was lucky.
Yes.
So there would have been a lot of people around. There was a lot of people got very wealthy who would have owned houses in Dublin that weren't worth a lot when they bought them, and then suddenly were worth €500,000 or €1 million and they sold it. And I know, a friend of mine made 4 million out of selling a house that he built for 400 grand or something.
There seems to be, am I just imagining this? Ireland seems to be a bit like countries like, I don't know, Greece maybe, where there are a few very, 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 very rich people, and then
we have a select bunch who own land and are in politics, and Ireland's very small. I mean, we only have half the population of London, so everyone knows everyone. Yeah. And no one is corrupt, of course, apart from everyone else. Everyone is corrupt except me in Ireland, which is the same for every Irish person.
I have to say that there is one thing that Irish politicians, I think, and the media class are very, very good at, which is sounding holier than thou.
Yes, we do really need to have a sort of Irish word for sanctimonious, a special Irish word for it, because everyone is so brilliant and so great and so pure and never do anything bad at all.
Well, I'm thinking of, for example, so to pluck an Irish person from the air, Mary Robinson. Oh, Mary Robinson is when I write books about the corruption and lunacy and interference of the Green movement. She's always involved in these various organisations campaigning for worthy causes because she used to be President of Ireland.
Yes, well, I shan't be saying anything bad about Saint Mary because she really is, she's better than your Queen, obviously. She is probably God's left hand, so Saint Mary will for always reign in Ireland as, we if I say something bad, I'm afraid of I might be sent to Connacht. We used to be sent to Connacht and stuff like that. And
what's that?
That was Connacht is the province in the west, James. It's part of Ireland. It's where Galway is. Where actually all the sanctimonious ones are now. But you used to be sent there. It was being like sent to Coventry.
Oh right, okay.
Because it was the shitty weather and the shitty area. So.
But you were saying earlier on that your new Prime Minister, Leo Varadkar...
Our Prime Minister, yes. We better call him by his proper name. It's Taoiseach.
Yes. Is like Justin Trudeau. He's that bad.
Yeah, I think he has the same socks. I think he's quite keen on tweeting pictures of his socks and stuff like Mr. Trudeau does. And things like this, you know. So apparently if you have good socks, that makes you a good politician.
But
these days.
he's quite a virtue signaler.
Well, he is, and but you know, he's the head of our right wing party, or supposedly right wing party, but he's pretty much Trudeau.
Fine Gael.
Fine Gael, they're our supposedly right wing party, who have now turned into the greatest nanny staters in history.
Well, tell me about a few of the annoying things that they've done.
We've our sugar tax. We're having minimum alcohol pricing now, because obviously if you buy cheap alcohol, that means that you'll get very drunk and be a very bad person. But if you buy expensive alcohol, you won't, for some reason.
So it's basically a tax on the poor.
It's a tax on the poor. Yes, exactly, a tax on the poor. And we're going to have our broadcasting license, which is fantastic. So we have our TV license, much like you have for your BBC, the great TV license for RTE, except RTE still has adverts. But we still have to pay €150 TV license. So in their wisdom, our politicians said, "Oh shit, there's this thing called the internet now, and people don't have TVs and watch RTE. So what are we going to do?" So they invented a broadcasting tax where every single household has to pay it.
Right.
So even if you don't have a TV, you still have to pay it.
€150 every household. Yeah. That's, I mean, again, for a low-income household, that's a lot of money. €150.
Well, you know, we do like they do in the UK. People get sent to prison for not paying their TV license.
Yeah.
And the figures show that I think it's predominantly women and single mums and stuff like this who'll go to prison. So so the poor get sent to prison for not paying their tax here a lot.
I think that you almost need to be an outsider to really appreciate the absurdity of these things. I know when Americans look at the British TV license, they go, "What? You can go to prison for not paying this levy on your right to watch TV. What about freedom of choice?" But the idea that everyone has to pay this euro levy in order to use even the internet is just bonkers. So regressive and
nuts.
Bonkers.
And but we have to keep RTE people in their jobs, you know. It's the poor people who earn £500,000 a year. They can't obviously be earning market rate, because, you know, what are they going to do? Sell their 14-bedroom house? James, don't be ridiculous.
You were telling me how much some of the RTE presenters get paid. That there's sort of 200,000 or 300,000 euros a year.
Yeah.
When their audiences, I mean, even the biggest radio show probably hasn't got more than 350,000.
No, we only have 4 million people live in the country, so
we're
a local radio compared to a London local radio station.
Yeah,
is a national one. So, you know, we have people on 600 grand a year in RTE radio who have, you know, even if they have 1 million listeners, what's that? It's nothing.
Yeah. So what you've got here is analogous to the situation I noticed when I was in Australia.
Yeah.
When I did my Australian tour a long time ago now, 5 years ago, and I did all the radio shows at ABC, which is the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, and they were all, you know, the Melbourne branch, the Sydney branch, etc. They all had these lovely, lovely buildings with state-of-the-art equipment and loads of staff and delightful receptionists and loads of space. And then I went and did the Alan Jones show, and Alan Jones is Australia's most popular, I think, talk show host, but he's a conservative and he's independent. And he was in an egg box in a kind of on the top floor of some sort of concrete block. I mean, he was running it on a shoestring, and that's the difference between crony capitalism buoyed up by the state and real capitalism.
I'd love to bring you to our right-wing radio host, but we don't have one. So,
that's really sad. That's really sad. Maybe I could come and be.
Well, you were invited over today, and you had to be invited over to be the right-wing guy because we don't have anyone here.
You had to import.
We had to import right-wingers, which we've plenty of communists, but no right-wingers.
You're listening to the Delingpole podcast with me, James Delingpole, and my very, very special and not exactly un-Irish guest, Gareth Soye. More in a moment.
Hey folks, I want to tell you about Breitbart News' Second Amendment newsletter, Downrange with A.W.R. Hawkins. Features the top gun stories of the week, every week, and guest columnists like Gun Owners of America's Larry Pratt or Armed American Radio's Mark Walters. Also features a review of a firearm or firearm accessory each week. The newsletter downloads on Thursday, comes right to your email inbox. You can subscribe at breitbart.com/AWR.
This is Delingpole, a Breitbart.com podcast. Here once again is James Delingpole.
Welcome back to the Delingpole podcast with me, James Delingpole, and my very, very, very special and exciting and different guest, like a sad puppy, but actually much more talkative and interesting, Gareth Soye. Welcome back, Gareth.
Thanks, James. Yes.
Gareth, tell me a bit more about yourself. I discovered you because you're good on Twitter.
Yeah, because I don't really have anything else to do.
No,
No, apparently I say funny things sometimes. Some people tell me. I can't see it myself, but there you go. So, yes, James, I followed James for a long time, and James followed me for some reason, and then we got to talking.
Because when I came over, Boy, who came over with me to keep me company, said, "So
he's here sleeping, by the way, on the
sleeping.
couch."
He said, "Who is this guy we're meeting?" I said, "I don't bloody know. It's just somebody I met on Twitter." So it could have shaped up really badly, but it hasn't so far. I think you have entertained me, you have educated me slightly, but don't you do something like IT?
Yeah, I've worked in retail technology all my life, but yes, I know it's extremely boring. So you know the silly self-checkouts that say wrong item in bagging lane thing stuff, all stuff like that. But let's not talk about that. It's really boring.
No, but actually, do you know what? It's really good for me to meet real people occasionally.
Yeah,
no, it is.
It's nice
because journalists are
arseholes.
Here, you said that.
We're
in a bubble.
Okay, well, you see, the reason we got onto journalism is because in my 30s, after the bust happened in Ireland,
I thought you'd retrain.
Well, I decided to retrain. I didn't have a chance to go to university when I was younger. Long story, I didn't, and I always wanted a degree.
But you'd never get this from your literary collection.
So I always wanted a degree, and I decided I'd do a degree in journalism.
You really thought you picked the one area, which is the growth area.
The growth
market's
area.
just
we did.
booming.
Yeah, we actually had visitors to the university. Ken Clark was actually one of the visitors, and there was a lady with him, and she said, "Why are you people doing this?"
That was probably the most important question anyone asked on your course.
Yeah. So I really wanted to be a journalist, and then I met loads of journalists and said, "No, I don't."
So you did a journalist.
I have a degree in journalism.
Do you 3 years?
3 years. Proper BA with honours.
What did you spend 3 years doing?
Praising our Lord God, Marx.
Did you really?
Yes.
What's Marx got to do with?
I wish I knew.
You said there was a module on your course where you had to study
Marxism. Yeah. Well, you see, so going into journalism, I was a rabid lefty. I was a sort of mad lefty.
Tell me some of the things you believed.
So I was telling you this in the car earlier. I remember being in France with my wife. It was about 2006, so that's 10, 11 years ago. I remember, and we drove through Monaco. We were just out for a drive, and we drove through Monaco. And I remember cracking up and calling all the people who owned the yachts rich bastards, and how dare they have all this money, and they've all stole it. And so I was pretty much a Corbynite typey thingy lunatic. So then I went to do journalism, and during the journalism course, the UK riots happened, and they all turned me into having some sense and being a right winger.
So you saw these riots breaking out in London. These are the ones where they were talking about getting fire hoses and things.
Yeah, the riots they had in... Now, being from Northern Ireland in the 80s, we knew how to do proper riots and stuff and have bullets shot at people and stuff. But the riots in the UK, so we had all these people going looting. They were just out looting. Yes, they were. But then I seen on TV apologists for them and saying, oh, the poor children have nothing to do and they're so poor and they're all ratting because of the bad rich people. And it sickened me. I was just, what are you talking about? I said, I grew up poor. I didn't go out and riot. I grew up in Northern Ireland being oppressed. Didn't go and riot, and why are you apologizing for these people? They're just out looting. And it sickened me. And then I was studying journalism, and we were being taught how Marx was so great. And I literally asked them in journalism, I said, why are we learning this? What has this got to do with journalism? And they were, well, Marx is this and Marx is that. So I had several discussions with the journalist teachers. So the head of journalism, and she was a mad feminist who my son was born.
Is there any other kind?
No. So my son was born while I was there, and she was like astounded that my son had my surname and not mine and my wife's surname. And I said, but my wife has my surname. What? Your wife changed her name to yours? And it's like, yeah, she wanted to. So,
which is pretty heroic of it. Soy.
Yeah, I know. Soy, yeah, I know. It's like
soy sauce. Soy.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard that before.
No. What else haven't you? What other nicknames haven't you heard?
I thought I'd get some sympathy from Delingpole. It's not.
There aren't many of us.
No, there's not. There's not many of us either, thankfully. But Delingpole and Soy is a good detective show. If we were lefties, the BBC would give us a show.
That is so true. I sometimes think, sometimes bitterly, sometimes amusedly, about how different my life would have been if I'd only been a lefty, and I would definitely have a show. I'd be a really popular TV presenter.
Of course, yeah. I'd have my few
I'd be
100,000
like
RT wages.
I'd be like who would I be like? Well, I mean, any TV presenter really.
They're all the same, really, aren't they? They're all come from a factory.
I'd have a show involving animals. I'd have a show involving quizzes. I'd definitely have a.
You'd have a quiz.
I'd have a quiz show.
You'd have a literary show.
I'd have a literary show. Probably a politics show as well.
You would have a politics
where I'd take
show.
a light-hearted sideways look at politics.
You'd have
from a lefty.
Yeah,
angle.
yeah. You'd be certainly be invited on Have I Got News for You every other week and things like that.
I would,
yeah.
and I would be bulletproof.
Yes.
They wouldn't take the mickey out of me or try and ambush me with my sinister past because, hey, I wouldn't need to be.
No, and obviously we don't make fun of left politics because they're good and we're evil.
And you too could have had it. You'd be writing for The Guardian right now. You could be working for the BBC.
The Irish Times.
The Irish Times?
Yes, is our paper of record.
Yeah.
Officially. But yes, that's our Guardian. So yeah, I'd definitely have my own Irish Times column and my own RTE show, I guess, and whatever. But you have to stick with the truth, don't you? I thought that's what journalism is supposed to be all about.
This is ultimately your problem and my problem.
The truth.
It's out there, isn't it?
This is why I went to journalism school. I wanted to be interested in the truth and hold people to account for the truth. And I discovered in journalism school that the truth is what you make it. We actually had that the truth is narrative. You're actually taught this in journalism school now. And I'm going, no, the truth is just the truth. There is no, it's the truth.
It's very interesting what you say there, because I was actually thinking before you said the N word.
Yes.
I was thinking how much this Marxist perspective is infecting every aspect of modern culture. There was a very good essay. I'm going to have to write about this for Breitbart sometime, because I never did at the time, and I should have picked up on it really. I think last year there was a piece online which explained why SJW snowflake students think the way they do, and it's to do with the battle between modernism and postmodernism and whatever thing we believe is, and it's true that the left doesn't believe in objective truth.
No, the truth is whatever you decide come whatever day of the week it might be.
Yeah.
The truth is whatever makes you right, really, because that's really at lefties what they have. That's the root of their whole thing, is that they can never be wrong.
But it's interesting that this is actually what you were taught on your journalism course, because I'm sure there would have been a time when I'm presuming at any journalism school, it would have been just a given that the purpose of journalism was to unearth the truth. I mean, isn't that what all journalistic stories are about? It's about, look, one of my favourite movies, 3 Days of the Condor.
Okay, well,
where so Robert Redford is a journalist, and he works in this weird sort of offshoot company whose job it is to sift through journalism and magazines and things and discover stuff. And one day the whole office gets wiped out by mysterious assassins, and the reason is that they've discovered the truth. They've unearthed a secret that they shouldn't have unearthed.
Assassins? Now I might watch it. Now
Well,
there's assassins in it. Yeah.
No, it's really. You'd love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's one of the Max von Sydow is the assassin.
Yeah.
And it's got the best intro, I would say, of any film ever, even better than Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, okay.
He goes to get a coffee in the rain. Always, if ever you get the chance to go and do the coffee run, always do it, because you could be the only one who survives in the office.
Well, it's very unlikely I'm going to be working in a journalism office anyway. So this is my journalism.
Your
office.
journalistic colleagues your trainee,
Yes.
were they buying into all this stuff?
There was only 3 of us, and
Thank God, only 3.
the other 2 guys. No, they weren't really, but they were young. You see, this is the problem. The teacher, the lecturers, the faculty.
Yeah.
They detested me halfway through it. They detested me because I think it was because I was in my 30s and I was older, and I was calling them out on their bullshit. And they actually, like the head of faculty actually brought me in for a meeting to sit me down and tell me how wrong I was and everything. Because I was calling them out on their bullshit. I was saying, this is nonsense. Why are we discussing this? This has nothing to do with anything.
Did you sit there through your disciplinary meeting? Were you truculent and difficult?
Oh, of course, yeah. I told him. So he was this is the stupidest person I've ever met in my life, and I was brought up in Northern Ireland. This is without doubt the dumbest person I have ever encountered. He doesn't believe in evolution. Now, not through any religious-y thing. He doesn't believe in God. He actually stood up in class and he said, I don't believe in evolution because I have nothing in common with a monkey. This is the head of department. And you're sort of... So he's a big fan of your mates, Foucault and Derrida and all these French lunatics.
Yes.
So, one of them wrote about the Twin Towers. And your man, this guy stood in class. I remember asking this: "Is what do you think happened?" Or what? And well, we all know what happened. So one of these one of these lunatics wrote that the Twin Towers committed suicide.
Yes.
So he was talking as if this is real, and you're going, "No, this is just nonsense. This is just someone talking shite. We can all talk shite, and this is someone talking shite." And he was, "No, but this could we don't know. This could happen because this is the narrative thing. This is the." They just invent shit, and then if you call them on it, they go, well, you can't be 100% sure. And you're going, no, stop talking nonsense.
The other day, I did something that you would never do, and you're lucky because you don't have to do it in this country. We don't get much talk radio in Britain.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to... I don't know how to dial up the sports channel. Not that I listen to it anyway, but that would be talk that I could listen to. Anyway, I quite often, I do quite often actually. I'll admit it. Listen to the Today programme on Radio 4, and I do it mainly to torture myself and
self-flagellation.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Roman soldiers. Apparently, the nettles came to England, so that. Were brought by the Romans so that the legionaries could flagellate themselves into awakeness.
Interesting. Yeah.
Apparently. That's by the way. I was listening to the Today programme, and there was an item on the explorer Benedict Allen. Do you know about him? He got lost in Papua New Guinea. He didn't take his mobile phone with him.
Okay.
He had to be rescued.
Like at taxpayers' expense, no doubt.
No,
No?
the Daily Mail's expense. Actually, it was good old-fashioned... we go and find the lost explorer. And the Daily Mail reporter, got out of the helicopter and said, Mr. Allen, I pursue, which I thought was rather good.
Very good, yes.
Or that's what he said in the story anyway. Maybe
Yes.
he didn't really. He said,
Yeah.
are you Benedict Allen?
Yeah.
So he was rescued by the Mail, and there was apparently a debate about should he have gone without a mobile phone? Should people be? What's the point of exploring these days when everywhere's been discovered, etc., etc. But the way that the Today programme covered it was they got Benedict Fogel, who's likeable Sloane, and some random girl who clearly writes for The Guardian, has clearly got some sort of ethnic background. And she said that she identified more with the semi-pristine tribe that Benedict Allen had visited than she did with him, that he was part of the oppressive white male hegemony, and that she started talking about narratives, and she started saying that actually what Benedict Allen was doing was a continuation of what white male explorers had done since the 17th, 16th century, and that she was saying that because this happened in the past, therefore this is what you are doing now, and this is how I feel. And she was using this language, this effectively Marxist dialectic. She probably picked it up at SOAS or LSE or somewhere. And I was thinking, sorry, but you've had this privileged university background. You've been notionally educated. You have nothing in common with these people with penis gourds and hunting by bow and arrows. You're not one of them. You're actually much closer to Benedict Allen than you'll ever be to these people. But the second thing that bothered me about it was what is Marxist dialectic doing on the BBC's flagship programme? Why is this silly girl being given airtime? Why is he being taken seriously? This is wrong. This is not where most of the country is.
Because the whole of our media is infested with it. There's there's no one else to go talk.
Same in the US, same in Canada, by the way. Same in Australia.
It's same here in Ireland. And we probably wouldn't get someone as bad as that in, but that's it. I went to journalism school, and this is all you have. Every single lecturer is like this. Every single one of them. Even the guest ones that are brought in are like this. This is all you learn, and the whole media is like that. And as you say, I could walk out tomorrow and I could get a job with RTE if I towed the line. But yeah, we had the question on one of my final exams. The question that guy was talking about was a huge postmodernist nonsense. So our question on the final exam was, what do you understand about the term postmodernism? So my answer to this question was, in several hundred words, that it was bollocks. A load of bollocks. That it was complete bullshit made up by people with very low self-esteem who want to appear to be smart.
You wrote this?
I wrote this as the answer to my final exam in my journalism course. This is what I wrote. Because it's not wrong. You see, so I play them at their own game. Because you can't be wrong. You can't, whatever you say is right.
That was your narrative.
That was my narrative. So I was saying, his whole thing was teaching that postmodernism was just whatever you want it to be or whatever. So I wrote as the answer to my final exam that it was total bullshit made up by idiots who wanted to appear smart.
And what did you get?
I passed. Amazingly.
You didn't get a
no, I didn't get
Magnum cum laude.
No, I didn't. No, I think I can't even remember. To be honest, I didn't go to the graduation. I was so pissed off, and the degree paper, whatever, I think I threw it in the bin.
Have you? So
it cost $18,000, by the way.
How much?
$18,000.
Your degree.
Yeah.
And so you haven't even got one of those pictures of yourself in the hat. No, in the hat.
No, or the cape or whatever.
The cape.
No, I've nothing. I just want to.
Because can I say, I would love to see what colour gowns they do at your particular university.
They're green with shamrocks on, obviously, James, as all of our clothes are.
Yeah, but you talk about that in a mocking way, as if such things never happened. But I happen to know for a fact that tomorrow you are going to play golf. Sunday, sorry. You are going to play golf in trousers, green trousers with shamrocks on them. Is that right?
Yes, they're actually the ones that. I think my picture on my Twitter thing now is me in my green shamrock suit with my friends in their Stars and Stripes suits. I was at the Ryder Cup in America last year.
I saw that.
So that's my American friends in their Stars and Stripes suits, and I had my green shamrock one, which about 100 American people come up to and ask to get their picture taken with.
They love the Irish, don't they?
They absolutely loved it, and it was brilliant over there. So, yes. Long story short, I have to wear those trousers on Sunday to play golf in, which will be fun.
That must be a good thing about being Irish, going to America.
Going to America. Well, I mean, going to America.
Everyone thinks they're Irish, don't they, in America?
They do, yes. I'm Irish, yes. Yeah. We're from LA. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's great going. I love America. America is fantastic to go to. If you go to the right places and meet the right people.
I love America.
Like, I mean, the Ryder Cup last year was in Minnesota. So I went to my friends in North Dakota, and my friend from LA flew in, and we just went shooting for a few days in North Dakota. And amazingly...
What, with AR?
Oh, everything.
15s.
Full automatics in the range and his guns, and we just drive out of town and shoot away in the fields, and we had tannerite, we were blowing stuff up, and it was fantastic. And amazingly, we didn't kill each other. We didn't kill anyone else, but I was sort of why
gun culture is one of the best things about America.
It is the greatest, and we went into this enormous big gun store, and it was just it's heaven. It's just
why can't we just go into a gun store here and buy an M4?
Because only the criminals are allowed.
Because only criminals.
Yes, they're the only ones who are allowed them. But yeah, it's great. But it was funny though because my other friend's from California, so he was in. So we were going in, and I said. And I was asking the guy in the gun store, I said, so I can just buy anything I want here and just walk out? And he said, yeah, why not? Of course. And I said, but I'm not American. And I say, well, I don't know. I'm not really sure. And my friend says, I'm from California. And he went, no, you definitely fucking can't. But I mean, yeah, he's disgusting. He's one of the few Californian right-wingers.
I think when we moved to, after the Delingpole and Soye show,
yeah.
After we've been Taoiseach, and what are you going to be?
Our detective, Taoiseach. We have our detective show. We have our chat shows.
When we've done that,
when we've done everything, made it.
I think we're going to have to go and live in a state where you have an open carry.
A state that you're allowed to buy a rocket launcher. Probably, yeah, and a tank. And whatever, a state where you're allowed to be free.
But actually, to me, I don't think we're going to carry the rocket launcher. Our people will carry the rocket launcher.
Yes, you have. Obviously, we'll sort of be maybe lieutenants or something like that, is it, or colonels or?
What our rank?
Yeah, generals.
No, I think 4-star generals. I think we're going to be, but that's another story. Yeah. But no, we have open carry. So when we go to church, for example.
Well, yeah. I won't bother with going to church because the gun.
I think if we live in America,
do we have to?
No, you do go to church in America.
Do you? Okay, yeah. Well, I'm sure I can manage.
We haven't told our wives yet. They have. Do you know what? I'm sensing a fly in the ointment here. All our best laid plans, may be frustrated by the female veto.
I think the wives might be okay with it if we had all the money and stuff, but they probably are sick of paying for us to do everything.
Yes.
So But then again, if we had our shows, if we were treated fairly by our media,
I'm still thinking about America. I think never rule it out.
I would move to America tomorrow if I could, to proper America. Now, I wouldn't be going to live in LA. I wouldn't be going to live in California, even though it's beautiful. Unfortunately, it's taken over by all the idiots.
I think the main problem with America, is that all the prettiest bits. Is it a bit like that film with Charlton Heston with the zombies or not? No, maybe not. But it is an unfortunate fact that almost all the most architecturally distinguished bits of America are in the hands of liberals.
Yes, it is. The states that they so horribly refer to as the flyover states are the greatest place in America to go visit. They're
but if you want to be surrounded by right-wing people, you have to be surrounded by cornfields and stuff. And I've seen Children of the Corn. I don't like it.
Yeah,
the way that wind blows through they worship corn gods and stuff.
I don't know.
It's quite dangerous.
I only watch movies that have like superheroes in them and stuff. Because I'm a big child, as you can see from my books. I only watch.
You are going to be so when I do my Mark Miller podcast. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how exciting that's going to be?
I don't read comic
No,
books.
no,
I
but
just
no.
watch them.
I think the Mark Miller
Yeah.
podcast may be so good that I might even do two in two parts.
Very good. I'd
Yeah.
do a 2-hour one,
Yeah.
3-hour one.
Anyway, you're listening to the Delingpole podcast with me, James Delingpole, and my special, slightly rambling guest. He's encouraging me to ramble, Gareth Soye. More in a moment.
Sonny Johnson brings her cutting-edge conservative commentary to SiriusXM Patriot every week on Sonny's Corner.
So there's one simple rule that I follow. You should always protect and defend ideas and principles, not people. People will let you down. Your ideas and your principles will keep you steady through any storms.
Sonny's Corner, every Saturday at noon East on Breitbart News Saturday. SiriusXM Patriot 125.
This is Delingpole, a Breitbart.com podcast. Here once again is James Delingpole.
Welcome back to the Delingpole podcast with me, James Delingpole, and my very special and interesting and quite Irish guest, Gareth Soye. Now, Gareth, you've been telling me, you've been sort of drip feeding me these little bits of information about that there has been unhappiness in your life. That, for example, you told me, well, it surprised me because you don't look enormously fat, but you were.
I was. So in the proper British way, I was 19.5 stones. So for our American friends, that's 19 by 14. Whatever that is, pounds.
Did you have a belly wheel?
It was 240 pounds or something like this, and yeah.
Were you very obviously fat?
Yes.
Huge.
Yes. Well, I went to America. I wasn't, but I was. Yeah, I was fat.
And did you eat lots of kind of bad food and burgers and stuff?
Oh, and did no exercise whatsoever.
Right.
Yes. So I knew I had to lose weight, and then we had my son and stuff, and I was like hemming and hawing. So the thing that pushed me over the edge was, our famous Guardian columnist, or your famous Guardian columnist, because we don't want anything to do with George. What's it, George Moronbot?
Moronbot. Yes,
his name is.
I believe that is the correct French pronunciation. Moronbot.
So,
but sometimes people call it Monbiot.
Yeah. Moronbot. It sounds better. He wrote a column saying that obesity was an incurable disease, and I was technically obese. By the legal term of it, I was definitely obese. And he said it was an incurable disease. And I said, no, George, it's not. That's bullshit. Because I knew I was fat because I ate too much and was lazy. So I decided, okay, it's time to lose weight. So I've lost about 50 pounds, 3.5 stone for our British listeners, 50 pounds for our American ones, whatever the kilos things is for our Euro ones. I can't.
How did you do that?
I ate less and exercised more. How do you think we do it? Like, that's how you lose
funny.
weight. It's, our narrative mightn't be that, but the truth always comes out in the end. So I ate less and exercised more, and I need to lose some more. I still haven't lost enough, but I will. So apparently I have cured the incurable disease, George, if you're listening, which I doubt you probably are, but I have cured. George said this disease was incurable, but I appear to have cured it. So maybe should I be due several million in medicinal fees?
You're basically on this podcast. You are calling George Monbiot an inspirational figure.
Yes, thank you, George. Yeah, thank you for your column. I know you've probably never heard that ever before, but thank you for your column stating that I suffered from an incurable disease, because it gave me the inspiration to cure it.
This is what Katie Hopkins did with her.
She did,
two-part Sky documentary.
Yeah,
she got fat and then she lost it again.
Yeah, because, but it's okay because everyone else, it's been solved in Ireland because we're taxing sugar, so that's going to solve it all. So no one else, you don't need to eat less and exercise more. Just pay more tax on your sugar and you'll lose weight.
And apart from your physical health problems, you've also had mental health problems, which I found very interesting talking to you about, because you told me stuff about what goes on in your head that I thought was normal because it goes on in my head as well. But you're saying that it's just because we're depressive types and
yeah, we're basically nuts. So
so tell me what
so
happened?
It's like I was telling James earlier, after this podcast, I will focus on something I've said somewhere in it, and that will be that it was the worst podcast in history, and everyone will be laughing at me, and it'll be terrible and catastrophic things will happen. Yeah, they are. Yeah.
The voices are. Yeah.
So catastrophic things will happen. So that's my. I have officially, you have an official diagnosis, whatever that is, of complex PTSD. So post-traumatic stress disorder, which people will probably know of and be familiar with, of ex-veterans having it from being in wars and stuff. So mine is complex because I had let's just leave it I had a pretty shitty childhood. And so I have spent many years doing therapy. I spent 7 weeks in the nut house, or the funny farm, or whatever you want to call it. All those things that we're not allowed to call it, by the way, because they're very bad.
Yeah.
Apparently we're not, even though every single person in there called it, every single person makes fun of it and makes light of it, because that's what you do.
Yeah.
But we seem to have this massive lefty thing of that only lefties can suffer from mental health problems.
Isn't this? I felt this, like you. I've had. I hate calling them mental health problems.
No,
I hate this kind of this industry where you have to become this victim.
Yeah, you have to be. They'll come to me and, oh, Gareth, I'm so you have this. And I said, no, I don't want to be this person. I'd just rather be Gareth.
Yes.
If you want to talk to me about it, by all means, I'll talk to anyone about it. But I'm not a victim. I am a victim, but I don't want to be treated like a victim. I just want to be me. Stop patronizing me. You haven't a clue. It's a difference between sympathy and empathy.
Yeah.
Which the lefties don't get. Because all they're interested in is themselves. They want to be seen as, look at how I'm so caring towards this poor person with all the mental health issues. Well, stop it. I never asked you to do that.
But it's also, I think, that this trend towards making everyone into like they belong to some kind of victim group.
Oh God!
Everyone is disabled in some way,
Oh,
and mental illness counts as a disability. Were you as troubled as I was when the princes, when Harry and William started talking about mental health issues? And like we all ought to talk about it more and stuff, and they were talking about their own mental. Well, they were sort of implying they had mental health issues with the death of their mother. I mean, I'm not saying that it wasn't an awful thing losing their mother, but life throws bad curveballs at all of us. It doesn't mess it. The fact that we get upset by them and have to go through a period of grief or whatever, or emotional turmoil doesn't mean to say that we are
ill. No, it's when you can't process the emotions properly, or you repress them or suppress them. That's where the illnessy stuff comes in. But I would, Harry's and Will's thing, I don't think was that bad. But what I found hilarious about it was you had lefties then coming out and going, how could you listen to them saying they're mentally ill? They've never wanted for anything in their lives, and they're rich, and rich people can't be mentally ill. It's because they just hate them.
They should meet a few children of rich people,
yes.
B, children of the aristocracy, who are the most screwed up.
Exactly, yeah.
Messed up, that they have terrible upbringings.
It's nothing to do with what you have.
No.
It's all to do with emotions, and emotions are poor people's and rich people's the same. So emotions aren't bought and paid for.
But so, were you on... Did they think you were a suicide risk?
No, it's sort of weird. That's the huge thing they have when you go into the funny farm, the nut house, is that it's a big deal out of whether you're suicide risk. So I wasn't on the high locked in ward because no, I wasn't. I'm too stubborn to kill myself.
Right.
That's I'm just too stubborn for it. I sometimes I do get very depressed, but no, I'm. It's the one good thing about being from Northern Ireland. You're just too stubborn to kill myself.
So I'm talking about this in this section of the program, not because this is the kind of the moment where I suddenly discover that we need to talk about these issues more or anything like that. But actually, I'm quite morbidly curious because I've been troubled by depression all my life, and anxiety, major anxiety, and sometimes done really, really stupid things that like career destructive things and all sorts. And I think the reason some of us don't talk about it is actually that everyone's got shit in their lives of some kind, so why bore on about your own particular problems? No?
Well, yeah, I mean, you should talk about them, but you talk about them with your family,
with your friends,
your family and your friends. People who love you, and you know, of course you should talk about stuff, and I'll talk to people about it, but I won't be told how to talk about it. You know, let's talk about the infamous jazz hands.
Oh yeah.
Remember for our listeners who didn't hear it, this was where was this, at Cambridge or somewhere? It was some nonsense student.
Wasn't it the National Union of Students?
Yeah,
I think
that was it. Yeah, they banned applause because it triggered some people. Loud noises.
Yes.
And applause. Actually, when that happened, I was in the nut house, and I remember reading about it. So, and I wrote about it actually at the time. This is the last thing you do with people. I have a thing left over from a historical thing where I don't like it if there's like a sing-song starts, which is a very un-Irish thing because they start. So I don't like it if there's a sing-song. It triggers me, for want of a better word. And I don't like it. But I don't demand that it stops. I demand that everybody sings silently or something. I just get up and leave, or I deal with it, or, you know, it's my problem. It might be caused by other things, but it's my problem to deal with. So this jazz hands thing, this is a perfect example of what the lefties do with mental health stuff. They go, well, we're banning the loud noises because we're being so nice that we don't want to harm these people. But what they're actually doing is harming the people. They're banning something. They're saying, we won't trigger you with the loud noise. It's up to the person to deal with that. You know, it's all about the individual. You have to deal with things as an individual. And at the heart of it, I guess, this is what lefty nonsense is about. They want rid of the individual.
And do you not think also, apart from making people less robust generally, culture as an entire culture, that the millennial generation, I think, are less mentally robust because they've been trained not to be. Doesn't it also set up a kind of expectation where everyone is looking out for an opportunity to score points through victimhood? So if you can claim to be offended by something, you are somehow you're more special.
You are, but only if you have the correct views, because I'm not special. Even though I have spent time in hospital, I've fully diagnosed stuff, do therapy, I'm
an actual nutter.
No, I'm not. I'm putting it all on or something. Because I'm not nice to the people, nice in the way that they decide is nice. Then I'm not allowed to have these things because only they're allowed to be.
Well, because you haven't asked for their sympathy, and you haven't invoked victims.
No.
You haven't played the victim card.
No, I don't want to. I want to be me. I want to, learn and grow and.
Do you reckon though? Obviously, I think the answer is yes to this one. But do you not think that those of us who have these weird, slightly messed up brains where we are prone to anxiety and dark thoughts that we dwell on and stuff, do you not think that we're often funnier than normal people and good at you're good at Twitter, for example. Now, why are you good at Twitter? Maybe it's because you've got this take on the world.
Short, snappy, and I don't have a huge concentration span and things like that.
Well, that as well.
But we don't. You can't take things too. It's like I said, when I was in the hospital with all the other nutcases, as we called ourselves nutcases, we made fun of it because you have to. You have to make fun of things. You have to joke about things. It's natural.
Because I don't think that people who adopt this kid glove attitude to the world and buy into the whole victim thing, I don't think they're usually very funny. I mean, you look at the sort of Radio 4 comedians; they're not funny.
No, I look at Have I Got News For You. Have I Got News For You used to be the greatest, funniest show on British television.
When was that, though? Because I'm not sure. I think you talk about a golden past.
20 years ago.
Maybe it was,
maybe.
Yes.
It was fantastic. And then, so now they have to have a woman on because they have to have a woman. But they don't have to.
Women aren't funny, but
they don't. No, but they have to have a woman on because she's a woman, not because she's funny. And
that is actually BBC policy, by the way.
Yes, I know that. Yeah,
that was introduced by that trendy public school boy who was briefly in charge of BBC. He had this edict that every panel show
had to have a woman.
Yeah,
because she's a woman, which is so patronising to women, and it's ridiculous. But Have I Got News For You no longer has to have anyone who's funny on it. It just has to be preachy, and I can't watch it anymore. And it annoys me. It makes me really sad that I can't watch the show anymore because it's just so shit.
Ian Hislop is the classic example of somebody who has, by having the right politics, he's had his path smoothed for him.
Yeah,
across the BBC,
and
it's okay because he knows how to make the right noises, whatever his inner feelings might be.
Yeah, and that's good for Ian, I suppose, in a way. And he still does sort of run the only half decent, well, apart from The Spectator, obviously.
Actually,
but
no.
It's Private Eye gone to the dogs as well, has it?
Gareth, have you actually read Private Eye in the last 20 years?
No, not recently, no.
I'm only excusing that stupidity on the grounds that you're
Irish,
mentally ill and Irish and not very well educated. Otherwise, no, Private Eye has been shite, as you Irish people would call it, I believe.
Yes.
Shite for certainly 15 years.
Okay.
It has never been funny in 15 years. Ever.
But yes, this is what happened. Where did all the great comedy go? Who are our great comedians today? Yeah.
Well, no, come on. What about Lenny Henry?
Sir Lenny Henry.
Sir Lenny Henry.
Sir Lenny. How dare you?
Do you think we ought to talk about how there aren't enough black and ethnic minority?
Yeah, we have very few of them in Ireland. You see. We
That's
all are.
We see Irish. You consider yourselves the blacks of Europe, don't you?
Well, if I
Is
say
that the
that,
phrase you use?
I think I'll probably. No, it was not the phrase I used. I think.
Oh no!
Somebody used
don't
that.
Use the N word.
No,
dare.
No.
Totally can't.
We were
not allowed.
Yeah, we don't really sort of. We have the odd idiot who gives a shit about race, but we don't really care about it here. We don't.
It's really nice, that, isn't it?
It's
that
good,
nobody can play the race card in Ireland. You were telling me earlier.
No, it's pretty much, you can't really play the race card here because you've been told to just piss off. As long as you don't be an arsehole, nobody cares what colour your skin is, and that's the way it should be.
That is totally the way.
You're either an arsehole or you're not an arsehole, and the colour of your skin is academic to that.
One of the things that worries me about this new culture we inhabit is that interesting points of interest like skin colour or I don't know, religion or gender or whatever, these things that obviously you notice about people when say you're a black woman, the first thing I would instantly notice about you is you're black and a woman, but these things would quickly fade into the background as I discovered things about your personality, that I discovered your job, and I would look for things that we had in common. I would not think of you as just this black woman.
I know, but that's what lefties think.
That's what leftists think. That's how they view the world.
Because they're racist.
Did I tell you about when I used to live in London? We there were some tennis courts near me in Brixton where I used to live, and one day before we left London, my boy and I played against a couple of black guys, and we bonded over a game of tennis as lads do, and the banter very quickly on their part turned to jokes about bananas and monkeys and about.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, this is really nice that I'm with black people who aren't playing the race card, who are just everyone was sending themselves up. Why can't people do that anymore?
I don't know. You come over here and you joke about being Irish and being stupid.
Only because you're right wing.
Because I don't care about it. Because you just make fun of it.
Yeah, but if you were liberal, if you were lefty, you would be taking umbrage about all my Irish jokes.
Oh, you'd be arrested. I'd have had you arrested a long time ago. Yeah,
you would have done.
Yeah, you'd have been in the gulag by now. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I go to I've been to Africa a good few times. I go over and I help out with it.
You go to Africa?
Africa, to Kenya. I've been there a few times, and I help out with a kids' home over there. And it's great. I love it. But you get treated when you're white over there. You're a
Mzungu.
Mzungu, yeah. And it's great, but no one cares. But it's fantastic over there. I love it, and people are so nice, and they have nothing. These are people who live in real poverty, not people who vote for St. Jeremy of Corbyn poverty, who don't live in poverty.
Although he's going to fix that. He will soon bring about Kenyan-style poverty for the mass of Britain.
He will, yes.
He will.
You will.
Give him a chance.
There is 1 million people live in a slum in Nairobi with no running water and no sewers.
That'll be London.
So that's pretty much Corbyn Central.
Well, with McDonald's as Chancellor, that is guaranteed, I think.
It is, yes. Except they have food. You won't have any food in the UK.
No.
There'll be no food.
No,
You'll have to
London
starve.
Zoo, well, people will be the elephant will go first. They got
Elephant.
a lot of the animals have been got rid of because it's unethical.
It's not nice, no. You can go to a restaurant in Nairobi called Carnivore.
Carnivores, yes, you can.
Yes.
I know we need all the different.
Eat all the different meats. They come with a big stick, and you have a little flag, and you put it down when you've had enough.
It's very tough.
Some of them, yeah, crocodile wasn't nice.
Some actually no. When I went to Zimbabwe recently, I went to a place where there was different game.
Yeah,
And some of it's really good.
Some's good,
Some of
some's
it's really
bad.
stringy.
Crocodile wasn't good.
It's a bit fishy.
Yeah, it's leathery and yeah. You were in Zimbabwe recently.
Yeah.
Are you responsible for Uncle Bob?
I don't. Can we
Resigning?
not talk about this stuff? I don't. There's some things we don't talk about.
Oh,
and
okay. Your history,
my work for the special
departments of the CIA, FBI,
I'm like a character from a John le Carré novel.
Are you?
Yeah,
Not
I'm
from one of my author's novels. No, not as exciting as those.
I am.
Yeah.
Do you know? Are you familiar with a character called Jack Reacher?
Yes, because you can see all of Jack Reacher's books are there.
I model myself
On Jack Reacher?
on him.
Well, you could have played him actually because you're as small as Tom Cruise is, and he got to play the 6'5", 220-pound Jack Reacher.
Yes, and who would you play in the Jack Reacher series?
Oh,
His fat mentally ill sidekick,
Yeah.
Spasmo.
Yeah.
Does he in the book?
Robin. Yeah,
Robin.
Yeah, do I need a cape? I better have a cape.
I'm not familiar with his work, so
Are you not? Well, you should read a good book for a change.
Okay. Well, do you know what? I think we've just drivelled enough. Do you not think?
Have we rambled
have we
on
covered,
enough?
Have
Lots
we
of
covered
rambling.
covered the bases?
Yeah, lots of rambling.
Where are
I
you
think
taking me tonight? What cultural thing are you
We're
going
going to an Indian restaurant to culturally appropriate some Indian food. It's actually owned by an English guy who's Indian and stuff. So we're going there tonight. And then we're going. I think we might go for a few cocktails because proper manly drinks. And
Are they?
The cocktails are proper men drink cocktails.
Not Guinness.
You can drink Guinness if you want, but proper men drink cocktails.
Well, that's us sorted then. Thank you for listening, everyone. Sorry, special friend. Listening.
Just one.
Yep. This was the Delingpole podcast with me, James Delingpole, and my exciting new Irish special friend, Gareth Soye. Thank you and goodbye.